Look at that, I got new brakes. No. Oh, God. The rolling tomato needs brake work.
For those of you who don't know, I got involved in a car accident.
Oh my God, look at that piece of shit. No, I'm only kidding. Um, so, I'm doing brakes on this, and it's quite a pain. I had some problems. I really didn't film, and I haven't been filming anything really. I've had a lot of turmoil in life, so that's what happens if you don't film. So right now, as you can see, this bracket I kind of welded it off, but this is level with the master. I'm going to weld these nuts in because I kept having to fuck with it because it ended up being I couldn't go in the middle there, even though I pretty much couldn't do anything but eyeball it. And I didn't want this master cylinder directly up against it, obviously, because this thing sticks out, and this didn't seem to be perfectly smooth. This is the guy that was screwed into the master cylinder, and it was always off. So I kept re-drilling the holes. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And I just think it's just not a perfect setup here. Now, I was using that because this whole push rod thing I made, and this is a lot thinner. This one that comes with a one of those little kits, with all these rods and everything. So I welded a heavy-duty wash to it. I had to drill it out. It was a weird size. It was like in between 7/16 and ½ inch. And I didn't want to put a ½ inch, but you could see how there's less meat on this side. As I drilled it out, it was worrisome. So I welded this washer to it, and it's going to make it easier for, trying to get it. I got an extra thick washer that's on the car now. And I have another washer, but it ended up being the math worked out pretty good to make up for this guy, which is a 7/16 thread. I just thought that was worn out because it wasn't 7/16, but it wasn't worn out. It's just an in-between size, which is very odd. But as you can tell, like nothing you get at Ace Hardware really matches up with this. I got two different ones. This wasn't going to work without trying to get something to fit in the hole, and because I thought it was 7/16, it wasn't going to fit anyway. And either way, it's not going to. It was not. I was never going to find something that was going to make it work. So drilling it out was the only way. And this is going to be pretty good. I supported it with the weld because I just wanted it to be stronger than that little thing there, thinking that a lot of leverage. Drilled a hole in the master in case this gets water in it. Bolted it to the master. I forced that guy in because it kind of wasn't square. So I forced it in, pulled these bolts, and then welded it. I might have cracked the weld a little bit here. I may have to, I'm going to touch it up with the inside, but it seems to be holding for the most part, but I got to do more. And I'm going to weld these bolts on because when you weld them, then that ensures that this is going to stay correct. Okay, so a little hard to tell. I don't know if I can get in there. Ultimately, I mean, obviously, it probably doesn't have to be perfect, but it's pretty close right there. So when you put the rod in, it can arc. See, right now, I can let it go all the way around. Now, before, I had this guy in there. So having this guy in, it was helping me line it up initially. But then I realized when so many things were off, like I couldn't put it in the circle that I made here, which didn't make sense to me because granted I eyeballed it from the other side, but it's just one of those things. It's probably not, it's probably slightly more open on this side than that. But I was thinking about leaving in this bushing to help line it up, but I figured that as you hit the brakes, it was going to maybe change, although it would probably stay straight in there. It would put a load on something, and usually what ends up happening is it wears out the seal in the master cylinder. So now that I got this all lined up and bolted, I'm going to weld that and weld the other bolt in, which would make it a lot easier to change the master cylinder on the car. Now, that being said, I still don't know if I have some other issues here with height-wise. There's another post that somebody has, like a little Japanese style. It's the Willwood one, and it's only 1 inch. I did 1.1 inches, and I had a big fight with AI about this shit, because it's kind of weird, and it's a little hard to figure out what the the stroke is, and they kept telling me that generally speaking it's this, and generally speaking it's that. But I mean, this is a 1937, and this was $175. I probably spent $275 because I got 2 master cylinders. Thank God I can return a lot of this shit. But I'm not even sure if I'm going to end up with this one when all is said and done. That being said, I like the GM style, thing. They're supposed to have a little more stroke than the Ford and Chrysler. And I had a Ford master cylinder here that was for my Ford Taurus that is now gone. I got rear-ended in an accident, and it is forever gone. Not sure if I can edit it in there with a picture or not. That being said, because I'm not really good at this. That being said, I want to test fit this after I weld it and see how it is. See, like I said, when you weld these in, it should always fall in the right place now. That being said, it's not really getting support here, which is no big deal, but I'm hoping it's okay. It'll be within reason, probably. And if the push rod is in first, like if I slide the whole thing on the push rod, I'm not sure if I can get it in. That might be a thing to get it to go, So it's not perfect, but you can do something much nicer. But this is generally speaking how you would do something. I tend to do things without measuring, I just do haphazard shit, and it comes out okay usually. It's strong, it's not going to go anywhere, but regardless of if I have the right size master, I originally wanted to put 1.1 inches, and AI convinced me to put 1.25 inches, and then I went to get 2 1/4 inches, and they were both for power brake boosters, so it didn't have the deep pocket. So I got this at AutoZone, which said it was for power brakes, and I looked at the reviews, and a lot of people returned it because they don't come with a slug like the aftermarket, high performance ones. But I might very simply just need a 1-inch one. But I know from other problems with old Chryslers, like I'm talking about 60s, it was impossible to get the brakes to work right with the two separate wheel cylinders in the front, the Lockheed brakes. These brakes, which cost a fortune, these guys, it says new, and all the shoes basically fell off when I took off the drums. I got everything cut, and this is just like original Chinese stuff that came in probably in the 80s, and I got the rear drums back on already. The fronts, I found a set of springs, I put them on. The rears, I just reused them. They were in pretty good shape otherwise, but new wheel cylinders, got them locally from a guy. You may have heard of Mopar Pro. He's on eBay and stuff like that, but I'm able to, because he's in Long Island, I'm able to walk right into the store. And other than a few things coming from Rock Auto, I think I'm pretty set. I have other problems with the car, but I really didn't even get it driving that much. Oh, that's nice. I didn't even realize the holes here, but it needs a few things. But, I said I work in the movie business, so I'm like, time to get a 30s car. Wonderful. So it's a 1937 Chrysler Royal, and it runs good, and it's going to stop good. I got rear lines that I started making. I just got some, they want $70 for 3 hoses, and I just, I went on Rock Auto, I got them for like $6 a piece. This one was like from a van or something like that, and it has a nut that holds it on this side. So I actually got a jam nut to put it on there, and it was, because it was longer. They sell like all 3 the same length when anybody sells them, and what do you call it? It's I didn't like that because this was like 16.5 inches, and I got some. It's like a 1/2 inch smaller, but they were way too big anyway. Not way too big, but at least an inch oversized. So I figured I'd be fine. So I'll find out when I move the wheel back and forth. But one day that thing is going to go in a car because it's been here for 4 months, 3 months, or whatever. And it's freezing, and so I'm going to test fit that, and hopefully everybody got the gist of what I was doing here. Basically using the original bolts. I just have nut and bolt on this. This is the bolts that go into the frame, so I'm going to remove these, and hopefully everything lines up. And I just figured the worst case scenario is I may have to drill out these holes over here, so both holes line a little better, but it kind of pulls it more square. I noticed that it seemed like it was actually, it moved here, but that's, that goes, I'm not, offended by that. So, I would figured it would do that. In other words, I'm not sure if I'm going to try to put this in all in one shot or what. But I definitely have to weld it, and it may be better to put it in one shot. That way, at least initially, I know I have the push rod lined up. But it really shouldn't be an issue because it's such a long rod. It's gonna find its center. It's not gonna be that far off by any means, So, but it's nice to know it's not a problem. And if the master cylinder goes bad, like right away, that means I have something really drastically wrong. But I'm really hoping that this is in the right place now, and this will all bolt in the way I expect it to, and hopefully the play and the bolts aren't going to make a difference. I was really considering maybe putting a piece of metal down here. I have to get a curved piece of metal and try to weld it so it kind of stays. I'm not quite sure yet. I can actually fill it with epoxy probably. And not there's a groove here, so it would latch on, but I'm considering at least some kind of thing that it can't go down anymore, so that's really where it needs to be. That's something you should also do. And they probably sell these. I seen somebody sell like a plate like this, like just a flat plate that mounts a master cylinder. You could probably get a lot more out of buying something aftermarket and then welding it yourself instead of doing what I did. I just thought this was going to be super easy, and it wasn't. And a lot of shit to think about. At least you have to know, if you're going to do what I did, you have to at least kind of know how to, battle your way out of it, or realize your mistakes, and then, correct them as you go. It's pretty much how I usually do it, which usually gives me a lot of headaches. But you know what? I live in a New York minute. It's very hard for me to even plan this type of stuff. So I bought it haphazardly, this car, and I took it apart right away. I started ordering stuff, and it's just it's not what it's cracked up to be. What are you going to do? I could have just bought that, but I like having a dual master. I just can't stand, I'm going to put a proportioning valve too. I just can't stand a single master cylinder as much as it just seems like it's the easy way to go. But we'll see. We'll see how good it works out. Oh, the other thing I want to add is that the reason why I did this is that, God forbid, if this all goes to shit, I can definitely put the original master back in and buy one and put it in, and that's it, and be done with it. So just something to think about. Oh, the other thing I want to add is that the reason why I did this is that, God forbid, if this all goes to shit, I can definitely put the original master back in and buy one and put it in, and that's it, and be done with it. So just something to think about. Okay, so I just well, truth is I'm blind, so I kept missing, and so the weld got bigger and bigger, but they ain't coming out, I'll tell you that much. So right now I don't even have bolts in. It's still pretty hot. I cleaned up all the bluing that was going on, and it's not too good for that one. So I put it, and I have it I'm pushing it down now where the bottom of the bolts would be. So it's resting on the bolts, and it looks fairly good. Come on. So if I push down the bolt, it goes there. If I go up, come on. So this is if I lift, this is basically, this is, yeah, if that goes down, if I push it all the way up, figures that's where I had the bolts. So I'll probably come up with a spacer between just the bottom there. It probably won't be that difficult to just make something. Okay, so we got this guy, and it's still hot. Come on, stay focused. So now I just push down, and I'm hitting this washer here. So if I just put a couple of tacks right there, I don't think it's going to be a problem. And that way, when you put something in there, it'll always find itself in the right place. Yeah, that... Come on. How does I zoom out? Because the light is on top of my phone, I can't... So I think... Let me just try to look using the light. Yeah, right now I'm pushing down on the master cylinder. Come on. That should be right. It's definitely... Oh, look at this, it rolled. So I don't even know if that was right. I'm not even sure if I'm technically touching it. I might use a thicker washer. I might just get a piece of metal and bend it in that shape. And it doesn't have to be any thicker than a washer, to be honest. So it just needs to be consistently like that. So the push rod is always straight. Okay. There's that welded washer. You can see master cylinder appears to be flush. It's definitely lined up. And I just had to grind that off. I went a little too far with the weld. There's a relief here. You know, there's a nice size relief. So I'm not sure about other GM. I would think there's even more, maybe not. It can always be grinded at a later date, even more. But I'm gonna touch it up a little bit more, but it should be fine. Okay, so this is an extra thick washer. It doesn't look much on camera, but it's definitely gonna support. You know, you can't move it. I did weld it up too much, and then I had to grind a bunch of it off. So I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like it's just fine. There is a relief inside here, you know, like see, there's depth in there. I mean, ultimately, it'd probably be better to be flush, but you know, it gives it a little extra something to hold. All right, so it's basically pivoting. I know it's hitting that same bracket, just a hair. This whole bracket is unbolted too. It's bolted on the back end where there's a pivot over there. And then I couldn't even get that off. So the other guys that make brackets, they go into that. But I just use the bolts on the master and that's it. But it did make it easier to unbolt the two bottom ones, which are really pretty easy to do. And then I was able to pivot it up to be able to get the nut from behind. Now I got it in because I'm using a good quality bolt with a flare nut, a nut that has the flange on it, you know. So now I'm going to hit the clutch. I want to see what's going on over there. I'm not quite sure how it works. I think I think it's okay. I don't know if it's really hitting anything. I guess I'll find out when I hit that video. But I know it's hitting the bracket in general, but I'm curious if it moved. Alright, I'm just having a little trouble setting the phone here. Just trying to do something quick, and there is no such thing. But basically that rod looked like that. The master is still loose because the bolts are not on the other part of the bracket. So I don't know if it's hitting the side, and I just flopped it over a little bit. I'm hoping it's not going to hit now. But it's also possible that that top corner might need to come off. Hopefully the phone doesn't fall. Let's see. All right, so it looks like it's hitting the bolt. It's still all too close for comfort, and I think that's why this other guy had like had that master cylinder rose were cut in half, and then I guess some support went over. I got to look at those pictures, perhaps. It would have been better if I just copied it, huh? As it is, I had to move it forward more because of the other piece that's in the way, which is still hitting just a little bit. So, always something, always something. All right, for my next trick, I'm going to, without the bracket in, I'm going to hit the clutch and then see how many inches where it gets close to that guy, that other pivot point. Don't fall, phone. Okay, yeah, the clutch goes down further, obviously, right now. All right, let's see how this is. I still have a little more metal to take off under the end over there, and dark out. I think I'm going all the way down with the clutch. I'm hoping that's just bottoming out. Let's see. Okay, that was not in focus, but this is not good because it looks like it's hitting the bracket itself. I don't know if I can try to put this in a better place now. Yeah, if that can hold up just like that. Come on. Just had it, and I had to touch it one more time. Yeah, this is not good if this is ending up hitting that bracket. My only saving grace would be that I don't need that corner, a lot of it. So as long as the clutch is able to go all the way up the bracket, we'll see. The clutch is pretty much down on the floor. Yeah, the clutch is pretty much down on the floor. I mean, I see the mark. I don't know if that's a mark or just the metal of that corner. I got to compare, but I'll see you in a second. Okay, I guess I got to take it out. I got to cut that corner. Like I said, the clutch feels like it's almost at the floor. So I got to compare it with the other video of really how much. But it was a little concerning. But I have another chunk of metal to take off on the underside because it's probably going to hit. Wonderful. We'll see. Okay, let's see. So bolt to the bracket, bolt from my bracket to that bracket is tight, but the bolt from the bracket to the chassis is loose. Doesn't really need to be anything special. Although, side to side is really all it's moving, and I don't think that's the issue. It may come down to it when it comes down to if it just starts to graze this, but I think it's going to be okay right now. Is it? That really. Okay, it's still set up, so I should have gotten a good video with that. Well, this sucked because it's a trapped nut that's inside there, and I was getting it all the way in, and then it just broke free. This one is still intact, so I got to fix those then, or at least this one. But now it's tight because that last video I didn't like the way it was moving around, so we got to try that. So one bolt in the bracket, one bolt in the new bracket, and all right. So I guess I can just put it here. Yeah, as soon as the camera gets over the red paint. That's a ticket. All right. Something tells me that's the bracket underneath. Still needing more metal to come off, but it virtually will only have an impact when you hit the clutch all the way down, but it seems pretty good right now. Suckers in the video, it looked like, it's still hitting the bracket because it's moving, but there's not much more to go. I mean, it's virtually all the way down. So hopefully I can just trim a little bit more off, and that's all it's going to need. But a little unfortunate. But I don't have help to really tell me, how bad it is. But I definitely have more. I could definitely take off more of that. I shouldn't have an issue. So hopefully, it can't be much more than a 1/4 inch at this point. Oh well. Alrighty. So this is the side where the bolts go, and I accidentally hit that with the die grinder, but I cleaned this up even more just in case. I mean, it might be coming out here because this is out, so I grinded the end here, but the other guy's bracket is pretty much the same, idea here. So I can't see it hitting this unless I had to go straight up on this, which I still don't understand. It's like a metal rod that comes out when you hit the clutch. The clutch that comes down on this side turns a fulcrum over here, and that pushes on the other side. So on this side, I went all the way down to there. I mean, that was a good, it was not just this piece. There was 2 pieces. Yeah, this and this, basically. Something like that it was. So that's at least a 1/2 inch. It's got to be enough. It's got to be enough. And obviously, I can't really go more than that because the master cylinder is pretty much there. Then you're grinding into the master cylinder too. So that's as tight as you're going to get. You can get another, 1/16 of an inch, maybe 1/8 of an inch. That's about it. I wasn't going to cut these off. I may do it. I don't know. I just figured I could mount something to it or something along those lines, or just it adds strength. But truthfully, it's so strong. I might just clip it because it actually does come a little close to the chassis, but it's not really in the way. But I think if I do that, I'm going to do that now, and then I will clean it up and paint it up, and then try to test fit it, and call it done. I'm going to get new bolts for this up here. These are just the old bolts that were there. And yeah, I think this is pretty good, all things considered. And I'll give it a shot. I don't know what tomorrow, maybe Sunday. Today's Friday. And there's somebody coming tomorrow from work on their car. I'm just like full of all this metal filings, like literally everywhere. All right, hopefully things start looking up. This took a lot of time. Not worth it. I'm sure you can make a much simpler bracket like the other guy did. He basically just had one piece of angle iron, but he had a very light aluminum master cylinder. And I kind of like having it wrapped around. I don't like bolting on a master cylinder this, but it was a piece of very heavy angle iron, like 5/16 or 3/8. And the master cylinder you had the bolts up and down. So being that the bolts were up and down, he was able to tuck it real good, so nothing came out this side, nothing came out that side. And they put some thought into it, but it's not really an intricate bracket, which is, good. Simple is easy then, So I'm hoping this works, and it's strong enough. Obviously, it's strong enough, but I wanted to be able to put any master there. So I could swear I had an aluminum master, but I can't find it. But in any case, wish me luck. Okay, I did that last modification. I'm really hoping this works. I got new bolts. I painted it. I actually put a zippy screw in there, and then I broke off on the bottom. I slipped the push rod in there just to make it a little easier. I have a feeling it will come out from the back anyway. Will not come out from the front because that head is too big. So was the original one, even though I drilled this one out to 3/4 all the way through. I think we're in good shape. I think that's going to work. It's a scam. They just give you whatever they want because they want to get rid of it. This is the number I got, and it clearly says on it PV2 when it's supposed to be PV4. It says it right in the title. Well, it's finally in the bracket. It's adjusted. Master's in. Portion valve is in. All new lines. It goes in there. I got things holding it down. Goes all the way to the back. And I got it coming up and around the steering box and then through here to the other side. These are a lot harder. It's really hard to bend a 1/4 inch in the way you want it to. It seems like a lot of kinks. I kept trying to straighten it out with vice grips. I think it'll be fine. But I think I'm just going to go with smaller lines if it becomes a problem. I don't think it's going to be an issue, even though I asked AI and they're trying to tell me that if you change the size of the lines, it matters. And I know that not to be true. So trying to say that the volume of the lines makes up the difference. I'm like, no, it's the size of the pistons. It's just more shit travels, more fluid travels through the line, but, it's constantly going back and forth. So there's, it could be a thing with turbulence or things like that within the line, which, I don't know, could it spur up air bubbles? If there was something trapped, maybe, but, you would know because the pedal would be shitty or something like that. I'm just going to double check the cylinder lines from the top. This was really hard. Like I had to take out the whole proportioning valve with the master and put it together, and then tighten the rest of the lines on it. I tightened these. I mocked it up with the wrong proportioning valve I got the other day, just to give me a general gist, but it was not easy. Oh. And I kept playing with it. Every time you got to play with the rod here to adjust it, and you can hear it. It's about a 1/4 inch, 1/4 to a half. It seems like I need every bit of this, though. There's a lot of leverage, and it's not necessary probably anymore. So it should feel like it's really going to stop when all is said and done. But I'm thinking that the only reason why the 1 1/4 inch would work is because there is so much leverage that it doesn't even matter. But I still think in the end it would make it not stop as well. It'd be a little too hard to stop. So hopefully this works. I'm gonna start bleeding it, I think, if there's enough daylight. So ultimately, why you're seeing me do this is because I was having a hard time getting a pedal, and I kept trying different master cylinders. I tried 1 inch, 1 1/8, didn't work, and in the end I had the master cylinder that I'm going to show, and that was a 1 1/4 inch dual master, and I ended up getting a pedal with it. So this is the master, the Royal one that the other company used. I got the idea from. Ultimately, it's nice and small, but I don't know how they got a pedal with a 1 inch master cylinder, because I had a 1 1/8 inch from a Corvette, and I just could not get a good enough pedal. This is the master I ended up using. It's for like a P30 Dodge truck, a really old, big one, but it has no relief in the back, but the spacing for the master cylinder is exactly the same as the GM, so it worked out real well, and I have a good pedal. 37 to 39 Chrysler, and I guess also Plymouth and Dodge. Just seeing if I got it all the way around. You can see there's a little, I don't know if there's shards of metal or what, but I hit it with the hammer all the way around, but I also hit the seal in with a really good seal driver. A little hard to tell otherwise. But to me, that looks like it's in. That's grease that I'm surprised it made it on the edge there, but I was having a hard time just barely getting it started. In metric, it's 65 millimeters roughly, and because I was measuring I didn't actually measure the bore here. It was a little hard to do. You might have better calipers, and I didn't even try, to be honest. So it might have worked, but with the brake here in the way, I think it was a little hard. But man, I hit it hard. It was still up a little bit, but the center is correct. So for a $7.99 seal at AutoZone, I think this is the ticket. If it works, I may have to play with the. I don't know if this has a wide tooth somewhere. I don't think so. So I think it's mostly just contacting the. I think. I had to use a punch and hit it in that way. So. We don't want to hit the surface that the yoke is going to go on. It doesn't seem to be contacting, so it may just. I'm hoping that the inner size didn't change via the outer size. In fact, if I remove this, I may want to put the yoke for the rear end because I didn't put that in yet. But this is already tight, so it may. I guess it's just barely grazing the thing. But I'm going to put this in and see how it comes out in a second. So here's the old rear transmission seal, just for reference. It was very expensive. I mean, $38 where it shows that the last thing here is pretty cheap, but locally they wanted $95. I actually found it cheaper online, but it was an old rope seal, and it looked so old. I was like, let me just try to look, and I ended up finding something that, a modern seal that actually fit in there, and I'll show that in the next video. So this is the rear differential seal, 7216, and that was like $32. But online it's cheaper if you have the time. And the other seal I got was this seal for the transmission. And it's definitely like some people list the seal as being like from 1935 to 1959. It's not true. That's 1940 to 1959 or something like that. But this is a national seal, 710-712. It's not railroad tested, but if you don't want to spend the money, this was $7.99 in AutoZone. That was $37. But if you don't want to spend that much money, like I don't, because it's just a seal. I mean, there used to be solutions for everything, and now they're just not. They're playing games with this. So basically, there was a metric seal, I think, but maybe not. Or the outside was metric, but not the inside. I forget. But it was 65.4 millimeters. It's probably the standard number. And then the inside was 39.6 millimeters, which was exactly worked out to the inside diameter. The outside diameter was a little bit big, and that's why I had to wallop it. But it's very important to have a good seal driver, or just know what you're doing, because that thing really, that one that I got, it really covers the seal nice and evenly. Even though it kind of went in crooked, I had to hammer it even harder to get it in. But obviously, if I had a better hammer and I started off with better wax, and I wasn't under the car like that, it would probably come out better, And I didn't lube it because I didn't want it to be loose, but I guess it wasn't going to be loose, but that could have helped bind it. But I was worried about a hydraulic effect as well. Weird things can happen, so there was enough, gear lube that was leaking out of the tranny anyway, so that's the solution. Okay, so now to the rear end, I got it all lined up. I don't know how, it was super loose, so I didn't like that, so I did go all the way. And this one went in a lot easier than the other side, but it was going in when I had tightened it with the nut, because I was having a hard time. And then I realized all these threads were gone. And I realized this moves, see this, it moves independently. The drum moves independently of that thing. So like you could just change a drum. I didn't realize that. I thought you had a machinery to change the whole thing, but apparently not. So now that I realized that, I went pretty tight on this. But, you know, this moves pretty free. You know, it's just that this thing here is binding. And once it all tightens up, I think it'll be fine. So I just got to get the cotter pins in and put the drive shift in. It is snowing, so I'm probably going to give it a break. But I wanted to make sure that seal was going to work. And although, because I kept hitting this, and it was kind of going in, but not really. So I was like, "What's going on here?" And I'm hoping I didn't. I couldn't have done anything. It was just moving independently of it. If anything, it would have gone all the way back. But at the end is when I really realized. I didn't realize. I was like, "Why is there space there?" And there's almost no threads left. And I'm like, "Why are these threads loose?" And I'm like, I knock out the studs, but they all move in unison with this. So I'd be interested in getting more of those because that everything's kind of shot, but it's still there. So I'm just going to leave it and see what happens. But that's a solution for the rear seal of the transmission, 37 to 39. Locally, a place that specializes in parts here in Long Island for old cars, they wanted $75 plus tax. Online, it's at least $45. There was another guy local that's also on eBay that did not want to have me come on Friday because he closed early, and then he didn't want to. He said maybe on Saturday, and you know sometimes he's open, sometimes he's not. It's very iffy, so I just kept scouring the internet, and I was debating on a few things I saw on Amazon that would have come by Tuesday. I really wanted to take care of this now, though, you know? And I might just put this drive shaft in and be done with it, because, I don't know, but my car blew a brake line on the way to getting that seal, so that's another issue, but I have another car here to continue to use, but the snow's a little bit worse.